Operation Epic Fury.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Democrats are in full panic mode tonight. While President Trump executes one of the most decisive military operations in American history against the world's #1 state sponsor of terrorism, Adam Schiff and his far-left colleagues are desperately scrambling to tie the commander-in-chief's hands. But here's what they don't want you to know. Iranian-Americans themselves are begging Democrats to wake up and support this president. They're calling this moment bigger than the fall of the Berlin Wall. The regime that has chanted death to America for 47 years is finally facing justice, and the left is trying to stop it. Why would they do that? Well, think about what's really at stake. For nearly 5 decades, the Iranian regime has murdered American soldiers, funded terrorist attacks across the globe, and worked relentlessly to develop nuclear weapons that could threaten your family, your community, and your entire way of life. Every single day that regime has existed, American lives have been at risk. Our troops stationed overseas, they've got targets on their backs because of Iran-backed militias. Israel, our greatest ally in the Middle East, faces existential threats from Iranian proxies. Let's not forget, the previous administration sent billions of dollars in cash to these terrorists. Your tax dollars funding the very people who want to destroy us. Now, President Trump has finally said enough is enough. He's taking the fight directly to the source. And what are the Democrats doing? They're siding with the mullahs. They're using the same tired playbook they've used for decades. Claim there's no threat, demand the president stand down, and let our enemies grow stronger. This is not about foreign policy. This is about whether America will ever be safe again. This is about whether your children and grandchildren will live in a world free from Iranian nuclear blackmail. Speaking of national security threats the media refuses to cover, there is a developing story out of Washington that directly connects to everything we are discussing tonight. We're tracking a situation the legacy media absolutely does not want you to see. As Iran destabilizes the Middle East, the federal government just made a move that could reshape America's entire security posture. And here's the truth they won't tell you. Our nuclear submarines, our warheads, our next generation power grid, all of it depends on uranium, and we import almost every single pound of it from foreign sources. This is not just about energy independence, folks. This is about survival, because a nation that cannot power its own military does not remain a superpower for long. And that's why smart investors are looking at domestic uranium producers right now. Companies like Atomic Minerals, trading as ATMMF in the U.S. and ATOM in Canada, is positioned to benefit as America finally wakes up to this critical vulnerability. With tensions escalating in the Middle East and our military stretched across the globe, securing domestic uranium supplies has never been more urgent. Do your own research and review the exclusive briefing that has been prepared for you, linked below. But understand this, the smart money is already moving. Now let's get back to the Democrats' meltdown over President Trump's bold leadership. This is what makes it even more incredible. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has just delivered an absolute beatdown to the fake news media when they tried to push the endless war narrative. When a reporter whined about whether this would spiral into a longer conflict, he fired back with the kind of clarity we haven't seen from the Pentagon in decades. And President Trump, well, he just dropped a bombshell to CNN telling them the big wave is yet to come. The regime's days are numbered, and everybody knows it. Take a look at this from Rapid Response 47. This is the big news. Iranian-American Moj Maja. It's imperative the Democrat Party wake up.
I think that it is imperative the Democratic Party wake up and get past their dislike of Donald Trump, the President Trump, and their feelings of international conflicts going on. This is about national security. This is about what is possible in the Middle East. This is about being a good neighbor, good partner to the Gulf states and what their aspirations are. This is about supporting the people of Venezuela. This is about dismembering our relationship with, or not dismembering, but resetting our relationship with China. Right now, 55% of the oil production that Iran produces goes to China despite sanctions. You want to support the people of Ukraine. You want to end that war. You have to. There is no getting around dismembering this Islamic Republic. It is non-negotiable. It is not a want to have. It is a have to have. And it's not just for the Iranian people. I think you have to trust the Iranian people. We know this government better than anyone else. When you dismember and decapitate this regime, you are going to see a change in the Middle East, in Venezuela, in China, in Ukraine. And I think, quite frankly, their ideology has it's caused a lot of problems for us worldwide. We need to take it seriously. And I think at this point, we have a tremendous opportunity. This will be like ending the Soviet Union, the Berlin Wall. This is a transformational moment for humankind, for security. And as an American, this is in our interest to complete it. So I am a Democrat. I have been a huge Democrat. I am incredibly disappointed with my party. I do not see myself in them in this moment.
Wow. Profound words. This Iranian-Americans plea sets up the perfect contrast with how Trump's own defense secretary is handling skeptical media questions about military action. Here is the Secretary of War smacking down a reporter who asked the question, what are we sending our men and women to war for? Will this be a longer war? And here's his response.
And one for Chairman Kane as well. I understand, to your point here, that you don't want to broadcast everything for our adversaries to hear, but the American people also want to know what they're sending their men and women to war for. Is there a concern of this spiraling into a longer war? And then one for the chairman when you're done.
Did you not hear my remarks? I mean, we're ensuring the mission gets accomplished, but we are very clear-eyed, as the president has been, unlike other presidents, about the foolish policies of the past that recklessly pulled us in to things that were not tethered to actual clear objectives. So we know. We have plans, we have generals, we have chairmen, we have commanders, CENTCOM commanders, Admiral Cooper, who's executing very deliberately to ensure outcomes that I laid out are accomplished. But we would never, in front of a press pool, lay out how long that may take. The mission for our warfighters, which is what matters to us, is very, very clear. And they're executing it right now violently.
Just for the chairman, quickly, I have one for just for
They're executing it right now, violently. Well, Alex defends the mission's clarity. Watch how Democrats like Adam Schiff are painting this as reckless warmongering without justification. He actually posted this to X. There was no imminent threat to justify starting a war with Iran. Okay. They only tried to assassinate President Trump. Yeah, they had a standing order to kill him. So that is a direct threat to the United States. Our commander-in-chief, Adam. He says instead, Donald Trump chose the path of more chaos with American lives on the line. I'm joining my colleagues in forcing a vote to stop the president from abusing his power. Well, Adam Schiff, if there's anyone that has abused his power throughout his entire career, my friend, it's you.
My heart goes out to the family of those service members and the others who've been injured. This is the terrible cost of going to war, as the president described earlier, and it's a decision the president should not have made. He has not made the case to the American people. He has not made the case to Congress. He sought no authorization. And he hasn't made the case because there was no imminent threat from Iran. They were not in the process of rebuilding their nuclear program or building a bomb. The president said only months ago that he had obliterated their nuclear program. Now, that was, I think, an exaggerated claim. But nevertheless, at this stage, it posed no threat to the United States, nor do they have the capability of hitting us with ballistic missiles. So there was no cause for us to go to war with Iran. And to go to war with Iran over regime change and risk American lives with such tragic result, I think was a terrible mistake by the president.
Well, a terrible mistake is the fact that you're not in prison at the moment. But, of course, you're entitled to your opinion. He calls it chaos, but Trump himself is doubling down on what he just told CNN about the future will shock you. President Trump just spoke to CNN about what is coming in Iran. The big wave is yet to come.
President Trump, I'm just hearing in my ear, just told my colleague Jake Tapper that the big wave is yet to come. So clearly things are going to be escalating, not de-escalating in the future.
Well, I think the imminent threat goes back to nuclear weapons.
The assessment was it could take 10 years. 10 years for an ICBM.
We know they have.
But Trump said it was obliterated. The nuclear weapons were obliterated. So
we know they have stockpiles of nuclear material. Are the facilities down? Were they rebuilt them?
Of course they would rebuild them. That's the whole plan. President Trump goes in and destroys them with Midnight Hammer, and they go ahead and try to rebuild it. They would not stop. President Trump just slowed them down on Midnight Hammer, and now he's officially stopping them. Trump's warning about the big wave yet to come gets immediate backup from conservative voices who say this is not about starting wars, it's about ending a 47-year conflict. Scott Jennings in the Lion's Den over at CNN dropping some major truth. Listen to this.
It is going to have some impact on the economy of China, because that's where they get their oil, from Iran. And what we did in Venezuela, what we did in China, what we did in Iran has as much to do with China, I think, as anything. I also want to say, may God rest the souls of those troops, but they died in a noble cause. And as Buddy said, 47 years, Americans are dead, the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world. I totally disagree with you about the threat not being imminent. I spoke to very senior administration officials yesterday. They believe that the Iranian regime was about to fire ballistic missiles, not at the United States, but into U.S. military bases and civilian targets. They were going to attack Israel. They are already attacking other Gulf states.
You can't make the case back then. Apparatus has assessed that there was not an eminent threat.
I know. My guess is I've spoken to higher-ranking officials than you. On the uranium enrichment, the United States offered them free, unlimited, lifetime, civilian-grade nuclear fuel. They said no. They had given us the runaround about their intentions on enriching uranium for military purposes. How long do you want to wait? Death to America? Death to Israel? How long do you want to wait? We waited 47 years. We have crossed every red line. Every president says they want to do something about it. Only Donald Trump had the guts to do it. You said you're not shedding any tears for the regime, but you appear just not to like Donald Trump enough to be mad about it. This is a good thing.
He's the guy who's going to bring peace and not start wars.
Yeah, and he is bringing peace. Iran has been at war with us for 47 years. The central pillar of the regime is death to America. The other pillar is death to Israel, who is our ally. They have been at war with us. They have been killing American personnel and American soldiers for nearly 5 decades. This is not an attempt to start a war. This is an attempt to prevent further conflict. This is an attempt to get the largest state sponsor of terror off the field. This is an attempt to stabilize the Middle East. I don't view this, Ashley, as starting a war as much as ending the people who are the preeminent terror threat in the world. They're at war with everybody. They're at war with us, and they're at war with Western civilization.
This is a serious question, because we have seen regimes fall and countries not be stabilized. And so what's next?
Well, gosh, I don't know. I mean, what if we leave a country that for the next 47 years kills Americans, kills American personnel, funds terror around the world? That's what we have now. That's what we couldn't have it any worse now. What comes next?
We couldn't.
We actually don't know.
No, we don't know, actually.
That the Iranian people rise up and take control of their country.
We don't know.
Absolutely. It is up to the Iranian people to make that decision.
And it will be an interesting decision to see what they choose and what does fill that power vacuum. The framing of Trump as the peacemaker sets up the ultimate gotcha moment, because Republicans are now flipping the switch on which party has been coddling Iran. Democrat RNC Research writes, Democrat Representative Jason Crow defends the Iranian regime.
Some undefined imminent threat, which, by the way, is a lie, right? There is no imminent threat. I sit on the Intelligence Committee, Armed Services Committee. I pay very close attention to this, and there is no imminent threat. I can tell you that.
There is no imminent threat. The number one state sponsor of terrorism that chants death to America and has killed countless Americans is no imminent threat. Democrats, as you recall, sent billions to the Iranian regime for years. So here is what this really comes down to. For 47 years, every American president has kicked the can down the road on Iran. They've appeased, they've negotiated, they've sent pallets of cash in the middle of the night. Remember when Obama did that? And what do we get? More dead Americans, more terrorism, a regime closer to nuclear weapons than ever before. President Trump looked at that 47-year failure and said, no more. So he's not starting a war, he's actually finishing one that Iran started in 1979 when they took Americans hostage. And the Democrats, they're proving once again they will side with America's enemies over an American president they despise. And history will remember who stood with freedom and who stood with the mullahs. So the battle lines are drawn, ladies and gentlemen. On one side, you have President Trump, our military, and millions of patriotic Americans who understand that peace comes through strength. On the other side, you have Adam Schiff, the Democrat Party, with the same failed establishment that empowered Iran for decades, and the choice could not be clearer. So I want to hear from you in the comments below. Do you support President Trump's decisive action against Iran, yes or no? Let me know, and let's get this video shared far and wide so the American people can see what the mainstream media is hiding from them. Make sure you're subscribed. You hit that notification bell so you never miss our coverage of this historic moment. And if you want to show your support for real America First journalism, check out the Next News merch shop. You'll find it down below. We've got gear that lets the world know where you stand. Until next time, stay informed and stay free.
The system controls information. Information control is power. They don't want you to see this. The truth only survives together. They don't want this. Share this now.